My name is Vishwanath, not Gopalkrishna. That's a common misconception. Gopalkrishna is my father's name, and my full name is Chittur Gopalkrishna Vishwanathan. But my father didn't have place to write this name in my school application form. So he removed Chittur, the name of the village where we hail from in Kerala, and made it Gopalkrishnan. He made it shorter by lopping off the last N and then removed my South Indian identity and called it Gopalkrishna. And then Vishwanathan was made Vishwanath. So it became a truly all India name, and that name stuck.
Yeah.
I normally write my name as G Vishwanath. On Quora somehow, when I enrolled, they asked my full name, so I gave it as Gopalkrishna Vishwanath. Actually, I started with Vishwanath Gopalkrishna, but then somebody told me they will need identity proof because at that time they were very particular about the real name policy.
Yeah.
So I knew that my passport has Gopalkrishna Vishwanath in it, so I gave my name as Gopalkrishna Vishwanath. And unfortunately, my father's name is now pasted on me, and everybody knows me on Quora as Gopalkrishna. Actually, my name is Vishwanath. I was born in Kerala, in Palakkad district, and that's where my parents, my grandparents all hail from. We are Tamilians settled in Kerala. So yeah, there's a community called the Palakkad Iyer community. They were all originally Tamilians. At that time, Kerala and Tamil Nadu didn't exist. And Palakkad is a border area. It is very close to Coimbatore. Coimbatore is in Tamil Nadu. Palakkad is in Kerala. And it's just a very short distance away. So those days, a huge community of Tamilians had settled in this part. And because of closeness to Kerala, they imbibed a lot of Kerala culture. And their language got mixed up. I won't say corrupted, it got mixed up and with a lot of Malayalam intrusions. So we speak Tamil with a Malayalam accent, and my parents used to be writing to each other in Tamil using the Malayalam script. In my infancy, my parents moved to Mumbai. My father, during World War II, moved to Mumbai and settled down there in search of a job. So I was then brought up in Mumbai. I had my schooling, and for 18 years I lived in Mumbai. I studied at Don Bosco High School and passed matriculation with decent marks, 70%. 70% was considered good those days.
Yeah.
I then studied for a year at Elphinstone College, science. And then I tried for IIT. I didn't make it. I couldn't get it. I couldn't crack the exam. So I went for the next best. That was BITS Pilani. I got admission there only in civil engineering because my marks couldn't get me what I wanted. I wanted chemical engineering. And then the electronics was very hot at that time. There was no computer science those days. Electronics was hot. So they offered me a seat in civil engineering and said, take it or leave it. I loved the campus so much that I said, okay, I'll take it up. And I didn't regret that decision. I enjoyed my civil engineering studies. It was a 5-year course, 1967 to 1972. I did my BE in civil engineering from BITS Pilani. Had I attended a couple of interviews, I didn't like those jobs. Then I decided I would study further, but I got a very good offer from the University of Roorkee. Now they call it IIT Roorkee.
Yeah.
So I got a seat in structural engineering, and that was a rather fancy branch, and it was very competitive, and there were only 10 seats for the entire country. So it was a privilege getting into it. So I didn't want to lose that. So I went to Roorkee and I continued my studies for 2 years and got my master's degree in structural engineering. Then all the time people were busy applying for UPSC, Army, State Bank, probationary, everything. There was a company called Hindustan Steel Limited, which was the steel plants at Durgapur, Bhilai, and Rourkela were all came under a company called Hindustan Steel. They had a design department at Ranchi called the Central Engineering Design Bureau. Every year there used to be fresh recruitment, and they would conduct an entrance examination all over the country. Appeared for it, got through flying colors, got selected, and they posted me in a company called Mecon, MECON. That was a new name for the design bureau of Hindustan Steel. So in 1974, I joined them as a graduate engineer trainee, and they posted me at Bokaro Steel Plant for training. I spent some time at Bokaro Steel Plant getting exposed to massive steel structures in these huge industrial buildings. Later on, they had opened a fresh design office at Bangalore in 1974. They asked me to march and then go and join this office at Bangalore. That's how I landed up at Bangalore, and where I've been living for the last 45 years. So in Bangalore, I landed up in October 1974, and I had no choice. I was put in the structural steel division, and I joined there as a graduate engineer trainee, a fresh rookie, straight, and was trained by my seniors. My job was total consultancy in the design of steel structures in industrial buildings. Chimneys, towers, bridges, huge buildings, massive structures, all in steel, which you see in industrial building and commercial buildings, not houses and residences and all. So I worked for that company for 28 long years, starting at the junior most executive level and rose up the ranks and became better and more experienced, and was exposed to the complete range of services in consultancy in structural steel design of industrial buildings, equipment supports, towers, chimneys, steel plants, cranes, all these kinds of structures. So I headed the department for the last 6 years of my career. And then finally, at the age of 52, I decided public sector was enough. I needed to do something else. So I was offered an opportunity by a private management consultancy and a knowledge process outsourcing company in Electronic City in Bangalore. At that time, the internet had just taken roots in India and it had opened up new opportunities. So there was something called business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, where foreign countries like Britain and USA found the Indian service industry. I mean, people working in India because of the knowledge of English, they could work for them at a cost that was 1/7 of what it would cost them in the United States. So a lot of industries sprang up, particularly this medical transcription was one. And the other was making drawings for American architects, engineers, and fabricators. So the structural steel industry needed people to make drawings for them. And they found that they could get it done in India at a cost of, that was 1/7 at that time of what it would cost them to do it in America. So this company pounced on this business opportunity, a new business opportunity. They were early birds in this business. They said, please come, take over. We'll give you the post of general manager. They offered me twice my government salary and gave me, a carte blanche to select my team. I selected a team of 30 people, engineers and draftsmen, and we set up an office in Electronic City. I worked for them for about 2.5 years, set it up, and I was doing pretty well. Then finally, these things got difficult because the field became competitive. Others started moving in, too much competition, prices came down. My staff left for better opportunities or for better salary elsewhere. My senior management didn't approve of my request for increasing their salary and keeping them. And they also turned down my request for additional hardware and software so that I could improve my performance. So I found it was getting difficult for me to continue. I decided instead of slogging for them, let me do my own thing. So I resigned, and at the age of 52, at 52, I set up my own company called High Q Design and Detailing Private Limited. Two of my old hands on this company trusted me, left the company along with me and joined hands with me. With the three of us, I went to the local engineering colleges in Bangalore and recruited 15 fresh, bright, young boys and girls who were just in their final year in civil engineering. I went there, made a presentation of what we are going to do, and some of them showed interest. We selected them and I launched off. 2004, I launched my company. I invested almost 1 crore in that business, and I was funded entirely by somebody in America who trusted me and for whom I had been working for a long time. He knew my previous background in Nikon, and he also knew that for 2.5 years I had been in this business working for that company, and we had done a lot of jobs for him. So he said, if you're coming out, I'll give you jobs, and I'll scale it up later as you progress. And he funded me. I set up my office. He gave me money to buy all the hardware, software, office space, everything. So I set off, and for next 6 to 7 years, I was busy working for him. And his job was to get the jobs from there, pass it on to me. I used to execute it and pass it back to him. Everything was over the net. So once in a year, he used to visit me and look up how things were and then go back. This is how it went on until the 2008 subprime crisis in America. Oh, the whole thing collapsed. The construction industry almost collapsed. Many of the projects halted. They asked me to stop the work. They asked me, they wouldn't pay me what I had, what was owed to me. And some of them, they wanted to renegotiate the prices. I had a tough time at that time. Then I had to scale down a little bit. Then by that time, I had just cleared all the dues. I had paid back the entire amount that was invested in, and I was about to make a profit. I was already started making when this happened. Then this was not the reason for my calling it off. One by one, I had a series of health setbacks. I had a heart attack, and I was in and out of ICUs with various ailments for the next 1.5 years. Then domestic tragedies. I lost my father, lost my mother, I lost my father-in-law, all within a short span. So all these things, demoralized me totally. And then I was already 62 at that time. And then my wife said, forget about it. We have earned enough. Throw up everything. Gar beto and haram karo. So I decided I handed over. I found somebody who was willing to buy me off. Many people thought I had made millions and I had sold it like all these entrepreneurs. Nothing of the sort. He just asked me to present a clean balance sheet, said clear all your dues, get it certified by your accountant. I'm taking over from next month. If you want, you continue as my CEO and be my advisor till you stabilize a little bit. And I want you to continue for some time because I don't want an abrupt change. Your staff may not like a new man. So I agreed and I continued with them for a few months. I helped them to recruit new people and then went around the campus interviews, conducted them and helped them settle down. After about, I think I worked for them for 11 months before finally I decided enough was enough. And they had other plans. They wanted to go in other ways. So they also wanted to expand. So I knew that I wouldn't fit in there. And instead of waiting for them to ask me to go, I said, I'll say goodbye myself. So in 2011, I said goodbye. I opted for retirement. And since then, I've been leading a retired life. This is my professional career. At the personal level, I have a daughter and a son. Both of them are abroad. My daughter is an engineer. She passed civil engineering from here, like me, and went abroad and got a master's degree in environmental engineering. She married a software engineer, and they are settled there in America for the last 20 years, and they are US citizens today. They visit me, I visit them, okay, and we are in touch. Then I have a son who is a Rhodes Scholar. He is 9 years younger to my daughter. He is a Rhodes Scholar. After doing his BA, he went abroad and went to Oxford, got his master's and PhD, and he was offered a teaching position in Oxford. He continued for a year, and today he teaches at Cambridge University. Nice. So that's my personal domestic life. I'm married I married in 1975, and me and my wife are living a happy married life. In 2018, I moved to my present retirement home. And for the last 4 years, I've been living in a retirement home after selling all my assets in Bangalore. And I have parked them in various safe investments, and I live from the income that I get from those. So this is my life at the moment. If you have any specific question, please ask.
You started a company or started a startup when startup was not a word. So startup right now, it's a word to, the hype word to everyone call about his startup, he has sold a company and stuff. But you actually did that, saw 2008, which was the toughest of time, like back in all the industry, right? Like time when world sees a recession was 2008. So yeah, I think, and also there's one thing which is pretty common here. So when you say structural engineering and then the big steel giant, so I did my petroleum engineering. And the rigs, offshore rigs, onshore rigs is one of the structure that we used to go when we were interns. Look at my colleagues, my college friends were there in civil and structural engineering. So I used to love that whole structure of, offshore rigs. Aapka pura journey bahut different raha.
The next question is insights about your working days.
वो तो cover हो गया, I guess.
I am privileged in one way. I am one of the few who have experienced life in the public sector, government sector, worked for a long time, the private sector, and also my own sector, my own, what do you call, ultra private sector as an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a very long lecture I can give on all my experiences in both the public sector, the private sector, and self-employment. So some brief insights are the maximum satisfaction I got in my particular case was working for the public sector, because the kind of jobs I did, the quality of the jobs, the size of the jobs, the nature of the jobs, and those kind of jobs I would never be able to do in the private sector and working for myself. I worked on huge jobs with thousands of crores of rupees investments. So, and I had the massive backing of the central government of India. So, and it was 28 years. I had steady promotions. And I ended up finally as the head of the department that I had joined as a trainee. That was a very, very satisfying experience. And I left it for certain other reasons, which I will talk about some other time. The private sector, the only satisfaction was at finally the end of my career in the public sector, I had reached a stage where I could not do the work that I wanted to do. That is technical work, because I was a trained hand. I had a very good academic background, and I was good at my design. I was good at computers. I started my work during the days when there was no calculator also. I used a slide rule. We made drawings by hand using tracing paper and pencil. We did not have a photocopy. If you wanted a copy, you go to somebody, get it typed, and then go looking for a gazetted officer who would read it and put a stamp and say it's a certified copy. That is the kind of life I belong to. There was no WhatsApp, there was no Microsoft Word or nothing of the sort. So those days, from there, I then adapted to everything that was happening. I jumped on the computer bandwagon, learned programming on my own, used it in my profession. Then I learned to use calculators and gave up the slide rule. Then I learned to use computers, spreadsheets, old computers, those personal computers, which 20 MB hard disk and a 640K memory. Those were the kind of computers I began with. And when the internet came to India in 1999, I think, about 98, 99, it started taking roots. By 2000, the internet was firmly established. We had speeds of 12 kbps per second. All you could do was download text. You couldn't download an attachment or a picture or a video of the sort. So those were the days when I jumped on and then learned to use the internet and became familiar with it. Then I also moved along and then progressed with the internet, was enthusiastically following it. So I could sail along with the crowd and then sort of, bridge the gap between my seniors who were completely computer illiterate and the new generation, which is ultra smart and all ace programmers. So I could, ride both horses at the same time. Appreciate this and appreciate that. Appreciate their experience and appreciate the latter skills. So this was one great advantage which I had, which was denied to a lot of people in my age group because they were shy of computers. They were scared. In the private sector, the only benefit I can tell you, the only benefit I got was I learned a new business and I made double the money that the government was paying me. Otherwise, every other way, the job was horrible. I was not doing the work that I wanted to do. I was doing the work which my paymasters wanted me to do. In the public sector, I had complete job security. No one could sack me. It would take 6 months to recruit a person and more than a year to sack a person as per the procedures. Of course, that was good and bad also. Any inefficient exploit it. The good ones actually feel safe and they give loyalty to the company. Like a person who joins the army or the navy, for them it's not a job, it's a career. So I treated my work in Nikon as a career and not as a job. In the private sector, I was conscious that I was only a sophisticated slave. And there was a slave master above me who was using me and asking me to wield the whip and get the work done by somebody else. The only advantage was it was paying me double of what the government was paying me. So it was good while it lasted. I enjoyed the money. But after that, I couldn't consider that as my career for the rest of my life. Most satisfying was working for myself. That was both a blessing and a curse. For the first time when I set up, I realized what it is to be an entrepreneur and set up a company and be responsible for everything. I didn't have to do any work. I didn't have to do any design. I didn't have to draw or do. I had people to do it for me. But every other problem was my headache. The computer not working, somebody's taking leave at a critical time, somebody made a mistake in the drawing, suddenly the power failing, and somebody not opening the office in time. I had to rush from my house. And then during those days when the computer speeds, the internet speeds were so low, 12K and 14K, 28 kbps, 56 kbps. These were the kind of speeds that were being talked about. We had to send all our drawings and documents by internet. So we used to pack them up, make zip files, and then email them at that time. I didn't want my useful working hands to waste time doing that. So I used to come early in the morning to the office, and this burden of uploading and downloading documents, which used to take sometimes 1 or 2 hours, I took it on myself. I was the first man to enter the office, open the office, and the last man to leave, switch off the lights and fans and go. Then if there's any problem in the office, purchasing the stationery and interacting with my accountants, worrying about finances, chasing payments, all these problems were on my head. I felt lonely. It was terribly lonely at the top. There was no one to talk to, and all my staff were young enough to be my children. So there was nobody. I was alone in that, and that experience was a little different. So that was a new kind of insight working for the private sector. I mean, working for oneself. I never looked upon it as a business. And my staff also, I found that I was not being a boss to them. I found that I was being a guru or a teacher and a guide and a mentor. And nice guys don't make money. So the entire period where I recouped all that somebody else had invested and paid him back so that I could tell him with a clear conscience that, yes, you invested on me. You won't regret it. You're not lost anything. But I didn't make any profit myself. And I had to let everyone else believe that I'm doing very well and that I'm making a lot of money. My colleagues in the public sector said, you're great, you left a job, you had guts. So all those nice compliments I enjoyed. But nobody knew the secret that my bank balance at the end of the month was zero. At the beginning of the month, it was quite a lot when the payments came. And after paying everybody, my salary was only what was left over, that's all. And I never revealed that to anybody. And only me and my wife knew that I was just running in my place. I was not moving forward. So when I gave it up, it was a relief.
Just one question or a thought which is very correlating, because I feel the same right now because I'm running this company. When we look at everything which is there, right from like I woke up, I'm the first one in the office. This is our office. This is house and office combined. I come here, clean up the table. I don't like table which is not clean, so I clean up my own table before the buy comes and everyone comes. Sit down. Even if there's a tube light which is not working, it's my job to replace it. Right from that to the end of like day when I'm with you or after the dinner is done, and even I'm crushing all the reports. CA is call कर रहा है वहां से कि आपको invoice भेजना है. तो ये पूरा जो जर्नी होता है, I totally मतलब I can imagine कि वो lonely वाला part कैसा होता था, because right now I'm that particular space where I'm doing everything. The people expect you to be cheerful all the time. People expect कि आपको सब पता है, मतलब आपके पास सारे जवाब है एक तरह से. And you have to do that. You can't go out there and say कि नहीं मेरे को पता नहीं है कैसे करना है. You have to take that hat से नहीं, let's figure it out या let's करते हैं. So I totally get that कि वो जो it's a curse and a blessing, both.
No satisfaction, because I finally found that I don't have to answer anybody.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to answer only myself. That's all. You asked for difference between working days and retired life. Yeah, the most important is being free from expectations. When I was working, I had to come up to the expectations of people who were paying me. I had commitments which I had to fulfill. I had responsibilities on my head: children, family, house loan, car loan, supporting a previous generation. My in-laws were at that time living with me, taking care of them. All these things were there during those working days. There are two kinds of things which we all experience. One is we all like to do certain things and we all have to do certain things.
Yeah.
So I had no choice. I was busy with what I had to do to earn a living. I didn't find much time to do what I wanted to do for a living. After I retired, finally I am doing what I want to do and not what I have to do. That's the biggest difference between working days and retired life. Financially, of course, working life was far better. I had more money. Today, I am very cautious. I'm living on my savings. So I have no new income. For the last 10 years, I have no new income other than the interest that keep coming from my deposits and other things. Fresh income, no fresh income. So that is a big difference. Income level is down. That is, then do you get a pension? You have asked me a question. No, in our company, we had provident fund and gratuity. We did not have a pension, but I had something called family pension scheme, where at that time I used to contribute about 25 or 30 or 2 rupees per month from my salary. I'm talking about the 1970s, that time. And that accumulated slowly. And at the time of my retirement, they are giving me a lump sum of, today I get 931 rupees as my pension. That's called a family pension. It's not the regular pension that the government gives to the retired officers, like the army and the government servants. So practically there's no pension. This 931 is enough to buy me a banana a day. That's all. So I won't starve. I can't really consider it as an income. It is just an additional bonus. I don't bother about it. At the end of 1 or 2 years, I just go and check my bank account and say, yes, 931 into 24 is about a good sum of money. Take it and transfer it and put it somewhere else. And then I forget about it. Once a year, somebody bothers me, I have to go to that branch and show my face and then prove to them that I'm still alive. So it's that's called a life certificate or whatever they call it. So that's one minor nuisance I have to go through. Unfortunately, nowadays it can be done online. So that is a relief. But till last year, I considered it as a nuisance. So that is the question about pension. How are you doing right now? That's your question. Right now, I'm doing fine. Fortunately for me, I am not as healthy as I used to be in my younger days, but I'm not as sickly as many people as in my age group and even younger to me. I have no major health complaints. My heart attack was over. They put 2 stents in my heart and then I'm doing fine. So otherwise I go for yoga in the morning, I go for evening walks in the evening. Then I spend my time doing exactly what I want to do. I moved into a retirement home so that my wife is also free from the hassles of running a kitchen. So no need to go grocery shopping. Of course, now she orders everything online. It comes out. I don't have to go to the bank. Everything is online. Then I'm able to be in touch with everybody through WhatsApp. So life is a lot better than it used to be when in those days we used to write letters or pick up the landline phone and talk. And then the meter is running every 2 minutes. It starts jingling. Your meter runs up. So at that time we were very conscious of how long we were talking. Today, you can talk as much as you want to whomever you want, wherever they are in the world. At that time, the cost of your phone call depended on the distance. The longer they are away from you, STD call was more, and international calls were prohibitively expensive. So that way, I'm enjoying myself, and then I'm very happy for all this technology. And I feel sorry for the previous generation; they didn't have all these. My parents didn't even have TV to watch. They got TV only at the fag end of their lives. Now I don't even consider TV as worth watching. I don't even watch TV. So I'm doing fine. And God willing, my health will continue. And I hope that I'm not bedridden at any point of time. And I'll do my best to maintain my health. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't eat any of these harmful stuff. Or junk food I avoid as far as possible, and I only indulge occasionally. So with that, I hope I'll be all right.
One question, sir. One question I have about the fourth one. So, did you get a pension? So, when I was talking to a lot of people in government jobs or in my father's and then grandfather's generation, right? People used to join government jobs because there's a pension. Like, people used to care about, okay, there's a government job, there's a job security there for sure. And there will be a pension when I'm old. So, my grandfather और मैं नाना जी उनको पेंशन आज भी मिलती है मेरे दादाजी को नहीं मिलती थी उन्होंने हिंदुस्तान लिवर में ही काम किया था टाटा फैक्ट्री टी फैक्ट्री में काम किया था बट मेरे जो नाना जी थे वो गवर्नमेंट जॉब में थे फॉरेस्ट ऑफिसर थे तो उनको जो आज पेंशन मिलती है पेंशन कीप्स ऑन इंक्रीजिंग उस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट पे सो आई कैन सी अ डिफरेंस पर्सनली मतलब अपने घर में ही मैं डिफरेंस नोटिस कर पाता था कि जिनकी पेंशन होती थी people used to like every month used to live a better life. People used to basically say कि हाँ भाई आपको क्या चाहिए क्या है क्या नहीं है and one person who had enough wealth अपनी फैमिली में got distributed to the kids सारे बच्चों में बच जाती है उनके पास एक हिस्सा रह जाता है आगे चीजें रह जाती है तो did you felt कि आपके जब कलीग्स थे जो लोग पेंशन वगैरह करते थे
once I knew that there's going to be no pension right from the beginning of my career I knew there's going to be no pension so I had planned right at the moment. So I did not join this government organization for a pension. I joined it for security and for job satisfaction. So the pension, not getting a pension was not an issue at all for me because I got provident fund. Then I had, what is it called? Gratuity.
Gratuity.
And then when you know that the pension is not coming, you will automatically start planning. And my investments were